Good morning all. Before starting the video, we want to tell you that we support Ukraine and hope that this war will end soon. Adolf Hitler was a German ideologue and statesman, born on April 20, 1889 in Braunau am Inn in Austria-Hungary, today in Austria and still a border town with Germany, and died by suicide on April 30, 1945 in Berlin. Founder and central figure of Nazism, he seized power in Germany in 1933 and established a totalitarian, imperialist, anti-Semitic, racist and xenophobic dictatorship known as the Third Reich. A member of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, created in 1920, he imposed himself at the head of the movement in 1921 and attempted a coup in 1923, which failed. He takes advantage of his short prison sentence to write the book Mein Kampf, in which he exposes his racist and ultranationalist ideas. In the 1920s, in a climate of political violence, he occupied an increasing place in German public life until becoming Chancellor on January 30, 1933, during the Great Depression. His regime very quickly set up the first concentration camps intended for the repression of political opponents, notably socialists, communists and trade unionists. In August 1934, after a violent operation to physically eliminate opponents and rivals, known as the Night of the Long Knives, and the death of the old Marshal Hindenburg, president of the Reich, he was voted head of state. He therefore bears the double title of Führer in French Guide, and Chancellor of the Reich, thus scuttling the Weimar Republic and ending the first parliamentary democracy in Germany. The policy he leads is pan-German, anti-Semitic, revanchist and belligerent. His regime adopted anti-Jewish legislation in 1935 and the Nazis took control of German society, workers, youth, media and cinema, military industry, science, etc. The expansionism of the regime is the trigger for the European side of the Second World War. Germany first experienced a period of military victories and occupied most of Europe, but was then repulsed on all fronts, then invaded by the Allies, in the east by the Soviets, in the west by the Anglo-Americans and their allies, including forces from countries occupied by Germany. At the end of a total war that had reached heights of destruction and barbarism, Hitler, holed up in his bunker, committed suicide while Berlin in ruins was invaded by Soviet troops. The Third Reich, which Hitler said was to last 1,000 years, lasted only 12 but caused the deaths of tens of millions of people and the destruction of much of Europe's cities and infrastructure. The unprecedented scale of massacres such as the genocide of European Jews and Gypsies committed by the Einsatzgruppen and then in mass killing centers, the death by starvation of millions of Soviet civilians or the assassination of disabled people, to which must be added the innumerable exactions against civilian populations, the inhuman treatment of Soviet prisoners of war or the destruction and looting for which it is responsible, as well as the radical racism singling out its doctrine and the barbarism of the abuse inflicted on its victims, are worth to Hitler to be judged in a particularly negative way by historiography and collective memory. His person and his name are considered symbols of absolute evil. The sources dealing with the early years of Adolf Hitler are extremely incomplete and subjective. Archival funds, witnesses and Hitler himself give very different interpretations of this period, which spans from 1889 to 1998. Many historians have even looked into the possibility of Hitler's Jewish origin, concluding nevertheless most of the time to mere unfounded rumors. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1889 at 8:30 p.m. in Braunau am Inn, a small town in Upper Austria near the Austrian-German border. He was baptized 2 days later at the church in Braunau. He is the fourth child of Alois Hitler and Clara Polzel, 1860–1907. His parents, united in marriage since January 6, 1885, came from the rural region of Waldviertel, poor and bordering Bohemia.